Hi everyone, I am back to start a new program. If you have grown a little bit weary and tired of Illustrator, you're in for a treat because I generally find students either prefer one program over the other. And if you're not loving Illustrator right now, or maybe you're just a little bit burned out on it, I usually find that Photoshop is a favorite. And so I'm really excited to be ending the semester with a Photoshop project that will hopefully energize you and get you a little bit more excited about graphic design again, if you're just sort of, a little burnt out with the semester and the quarantine and just everything that's going on. So to that end, you'll see that I am in Photoshop. And your Photoshop, when you first launch, it's going to look different. You're going to see I've got lots of photos and projects already present within my interface because I use Photoshop all the time. And also, I'm following along on project number 3 with you. You'll see in the discussion that I've chosen Mexico, and you'll see that these are some of the images that I've already started to pull and work with. Okay. Before we start playing in the program, there's just a little bit of housekeeping that we need to do. And the first thing is I want you to come up to your menu and I want you to go to Window. I want you to go to Workspace. And you're likely going to see that you are in a Start menu. I need you to go ahead and put yourself into Essentials. Okay. And you should see your interface change. Okay. I've gone from that start menu or that start page with a preview of projects, and now the interface looks exactly as you would expect because it's an Adobe product. It's going to look a whole lot like Illustrator, okay? And again, that was Window, Workspace, and Essentials. Now, while I'm talking about this menu, I want to point out that unlike Illustrator, there was no Essentials Classic. It's just Essentials, okay? So hopefully that's going to alleviate some of the problems we had when we first launched Illustrator. But also you have this option for Reset Essentials, and I talked about that in Illustrator, but it bears repeating. You have that same option here. So if you do something wonky, if you hit your tab key, which makes all of your panels and toolbars disappear, you just hit something unexpected and you just don't know how to back yourself out of it, remember to go to Window, Workspace, Reset Essentials, okay? That said, what I want to do is just kind of run through the interface for a moment. And again, this should look really familiar. You have a toolbar over here on the left. Just like Illustrator, if you hover, it's going to tell you what that tool does, or what the tool is, and it also gives you a little preview of what the tool does. Again, you see these little arrows in the bottom right corners. If you do a long press, you see additional tools. Okay. The only real big sort of distinctive point on your toolbar over here is that you will not be working with fill and stroke like you do in InDesign and Illustrator. This is foreground color and background color, all right? And you'll get used to that pretty quickly. Over here on the right side, you have panels. And while I, kind of said very repetitiously that Illustrator is a panel-based program, Photoshop is a little bit less so. I don't need a panel for every single tool that I use, but I do need a panel for some of them. I just don't find myself going up to Window and accessing panels in the same manner that I would in Illustrator. But that said, it is a layers dependent program. And you'll see down here at the bottom, you have a layers panel, and you need to be very, very purposeful in the way you order your work. Because these layers allow you to put different objects on different layers so you can move them independently. In Illustrator, you could just put as many objects as you wanted on an artboard and still move stuff around and edit them and change things. However, that doesn't work exactly the same way in Photoshop. For me to keep my objects independent, I need to put them on their own layers. And again, that's something that you generally learn pretty quickly because you'll make a mistake early on and you'll put a bunch of stuff on one layer. You'll get frustrated and then you realize I'm never going to do it that way again, okay? But we'll work through how to sort of manage your work. Up here at the top, you still have your menu, and I just want to point out some of the changes. Rather than having an object menu, because Illustrator was an object-heavy program, we work with images in Photoshop. Okay, common sense, right? Photoshop photos, photos are images, yada, yada, yada. And so you'll see that you have an entire menu dedicated to that. I also just said that this is a layer dependent program, hence layer panel. You have a layer menu. You still have things that you had in Illustrator, so a selection menu, file, edit, view, all the rest are fairly simple, or similar, I should say. So things that you learned in Illustrator regarding, using guides or zooming in and zooming out, those things translate over here, all right? And then within this program, you'll see that you also have this options bar. And you'll see I'm going to click around my tools, and you're going to see that this options bar changes based on my use of the Move tool. If I go to one of my marquee tools, it changes. Lasso tool, it changes. Crop tool, it changes. All right, so we will be using our options bar quite frequently in this program. I'm going to go ahead and stop there, and I will be back to talk about opening files. We'll talk about resolution and lots of the background information you need to know to use Photoshop effectively.